Wow. Well, I'm not surprised given who's in charge of the correction. Yeah. You know, Susan? Yes. Yeah. Yes. For the last, like, 2 years.
Yeah, I finally able to get it.
Oh, that's fair. And a lot of that. If you made our decision a long time ago, it's gonna work. Well, obviously.
Well, well, yes. Well, I can't even. Too hard, that would have been, that would be hard.
They were but the final budget was all set to allow it. And when it seems when I said only one, everyone gets to right? One card, everyone. And because we said no after everybody. And the student paper that they went for like, oh, I didn't know that was that makes sense. Okay, so, but later, I found out who they started. And then so deliver all our stuff to the gift for last year. I said, just the mayor, you tell them, right, that it's allowed for everyone. And now we're. Okay. Jim will be nice for me, and he'll say something about something. And by the way,
Someone's been sitting here for a long time. This table was empty earlier. Sorry.
They come in, it's kind of like. It's all of it's sort of all the. Things required to frustrate. You know. But right. Now. Yeah, well, I would say, okay, to be an example. Like someone else. Right?
Yeah.
Especially if I'm 40. This is. And of course, exactly what you, what you, and I did. Things that you.
Hi. No, it's all for unfortunately. Have one, but it doesn't matter what the other. Right.
Right. So it's open.
Yeah, I don't, yeah, I don't like the question.
All right, so let me ask you,
I didn't put down that it's.
don't carry those seats out.
I don't like it.
Don't carry those seats out. Not carry those seats out. Just certain- it's a-
All put in.
So, that's the issue. And I voted.
I don't-
It wants me.
So. So, I don't know why. Right. But right now, we're just doing it. Then we could come back.
Yes. Because it showed Nancy better. So it was sort of a start. Okay, it wasn't a video. Like, yeah, well, okay.
That is what it is. Yeah.
No one, no.
But some, they don't always talk to all. Wait, thank you for that. Yeah. Find out, I guess.
Get it, say that. Not issue, no. And the Dallas didn't come to us. The Western state, that's. So the state will live, state will live, state will. Right, okay. There's one. That was it. It wasn't their fault. Although they. What? But again, I think I'm just trying to be fair. I did try to. My student was more.
Oh, wow.
No, he was like, I wrote a letter. I wrote a letter. God, he is involved in but you shouldn't. So anyway, I've been through a lot. And now I would like she said that's again, maybe I'm the only person to do it. Well, right. Well, there's they would say, oh, it's not there.
Yes, yes. And then, Judge Albright, yes. Judge Johnson, yes.
You know, and then you don't know what how it ends. You know, it's the best thing. So. It was still.
Yeah.
And, you know, you said to me, David, I am with you on. Yeah.
Also, no, Judge Albright, no,
Yes, ma'am.
at large, no, wait, no, we accused, there.
I saw her standing there, although I wasn't sure if she was just trying to stay warm. Because, you know, she's very- Yeah, yeah, Mark, my attention, and I would, I should just interrupt. Well, thank you, you're polite, we appreciate that, but if you won't interrupt, interrupt. Okay. I don't. What? I'm with. Yeah, yeah. Well, you want to. I was out there. Yeah, you know, I mean.
Jennifer, the way the things back. Yeah, we judge you. As long as we can play out. If you do, bring that in. Question one. Question A. Okay.
I don't remember all. Right, if I want to.
Question one, 4. Question A.
Seriously. So. So the determination, my motion was to publicize, to put it aside. On the website. Now, no one's on very easily spread. Change. You know, you know, and I mean, I do not. But I'm not really. And where I also was from the organization. And, you know, I remember before, certification, one of the most important things that we do. That was not good.
Yes, author.
You know, it wasn't there. They had to control hours. I wish I could control hours. See, I'm shocked he was responsible. I mean, he's always very ill. You know, but
Yes.
Yeah.
Together on the, you know, person. And, you know, if I come up with that. You know, how long. Yeah, yeah. I'm.
I know.
Also, they say. Get out. I listen.
Yeah, that makes it.
I didn't answer very well.
Going on all the time. No, it's still going on.
I want to.
It's on the bottom. Please don't count the capital sign, say, look, okay. I just wanted to-
Man, I know how to vote there. So we'll, what do you think? Do we have a board referral or do we just count the votes? It worries me because someday it's gonna be the other, you know, the chairs have been in different places. Oh, no, it's about, it's whether it's. What I think, count the vote, I think to show this in the show. Prevent this. Well, maybe, oh, maybe. Right? You know, people are opening it up for the second ballot. And we are lucky that in both cases, we have a vote, we have a clear vote. Well, we don't know how it got torn, but I want to investigate that. We've had two so far today. We don't want if it is being possible, the issue is that we don't care. We don't care the board referral because the vote is clear. But I want to be a little bit investigating this on
But it's the same.
I'm gonna ask Michelle if it's secret. That's not a secret. Or first of all, if we have a law investigation, it would be a wide investigation. And so that would be a candidate to do the investigation. But well, we can find out if it's, we can find out if it's an issue. Find out if it's an issue and find out if it's an issue. If it's not here, you know, it has to be. If it's the wrong side, the opening of the envelope, then that would be. No, I understand.
I waited. Sweden was going to do it, so I didn't ask for somebody.
So, we have gotten two ballots out of all the thousands of ballots we've done today, so it's not a big deal, but we've gotten two ballots where the ballot itself has a bit of a tear on it, usually caused by the voter when they seal their envelope. They may have sealed it in a way that adhesive is stuck to the ballot.
Right.
So if you have that situation, obviously try to be cautious about how you take it out of the envelope. But if you have a torn portion of the ballot that's stuck to the envelope, try to make sure you keep it with the ballot so that if it comes to us with the board, we can try to figure out how they voted in the portion that got torn. Because otherwise, we haven't had well, we had one vote that we were not able to know if someone was voting for or not. But sometimes it's happening in the portion of the ballot that's a presidential race, and we really don't want to have a situation where we don't count someone vote for president because of a tear in the ballot. Okay, it's not everyone's fault here. The voters are putting the adhesive attached to the ballot in a way that's not what they're supposed to. But we're going to try and see if we can recover those votes at the extent. So, thank you very much.
Well, I was trying to balance not that big, but trying hard. So thank you. Yes, see everyone. So I don't. Yeah, I'm not, for this particular ballot, I'm worried because we haven't. I think the chancellor should have voted for more than one candidate. But, oh, yes. Well, yeah, that's the one. Yeah, now. Email. like several a day. And, all right, I stopped. If you get an email that said, the record show, advocating time for your first time, this is the perfect time for you. You get to because I have to say that they are definitely affecting my and every time I get it, I understand my wife's already in it. So, I've done it as a couple. Reasonably well, but I worry.
Yeah. I don't talk about, I'm just trying.
Two worries, like, run out of money. But I feel like if I unsubscribe, accept the law, if I give them money, every candidate is 2026. And I feel like I'm doing a lot of hard work. Right. Different numbers. Stop. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, well, okay, so it's not just me. So at least we're feeling guilty together. Well, I'm not feeling good. I'm not feeling good because they have the money. Yeah, yes. They have to more money than.
Oh.
Well. Because the nurse can't take it, but you don't want to know what you're they're not putting money in the black lady, that's. I love that. He's absolutely brilliant. But as you and I both said, voters come in all the shapes and sizes, even if they're the same color. And ideology. And shouldn't be a finger that works for some people, but not for others. They're already upset with the system. And the last thing you want them to do is get upset with the system by staying on the gap. Well, not that. Said to voters. Yes, I received a hard copy. More stuff. More stuff. Okay, so,
right back.
I may reach out to Mr. and suggest to him that electronic transmission is far from, given the infrequency of our in-person interaction. No. Or sending us electronically in order to get it to us in a timely fashion, rather than waiting until we're all in the same room. Or, you know, when this is stuff, or the same stuff. Can I allow you to shred it for me?
Yeah, the meeting, I guess, going to go see them actually in person. And then actually in person is today. I agree with Kate. I think one, and the font is so small. You need to bring home your magnifying glass if you want to read it. It's a such a bad font. We need to fit those other pages, so it's really, I'll see the. Okay, thank you. Yeah, okay. I mean, we had a nice meeting. And he's a nice guy. But, I have a lot of paper in my house. The vast majority of which is from the Board of Elections over the last subsequent, you know, and. Yes, several. I could probably build a race for it. For that. I did send him the email, I haven't heard back. Yeah, okay. You have to step out the smoke. I'll take that as a yes. Okay. Just as long as it's okay. Yeah, it's fine, yeah.
It's whatever. Don't give it
So
somebody.
no, my strategy is, I mean, I don't get a lot of getting into it, but basically to do it in joking fashion.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm not letting it get, you know. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I point that out to them every now and then as well. But the absolute limit to employers so much, you know, in terms of, yeah, you're reaching them a long life, you're reaching his kids that you have a long life. So, you know, if you had a look at this way, you had a performance or something. You know, yeah.
attitude. Sorry. Yeah, well, really, she had a very bad relationship with my friend, so. She didn't, she had. Margaret, she divorced. Right. You know, now, we have certain things we want. We have certain things we want. Exactly. I mean, it's night and day. It is night.
Yeah.
It's night and yeah. I was just the victim of a classic bait switch. Yeah. I'm gonna tell you about my bait switch. It has nothing to do with election. Oh, nothing at all. It has to do with a consumer product. The consumer product is coconut water. So I was ordering coconut water directly from Farmers Harvest. It is the best coconut water. It is not pasteurized. It is kept refrigerated. It tastes close to the out of the coconut as well. So I signed up for a subscription with them. And they were selling me 6 packs of 12-ounce bottles. Okay. I bought 4. Just got my very first shipment. I get an email. The shipment came earlier this week. The email came yesterday. And the email says, starting in November, which is of course 6 days away, your subscription will be transitioned to a 12-pack, 10-ounce organic coconut water, unless you make a change or swap your subscription here. There will be no changes to the price of your order. So I went from a 6-pack of, well, 4 6-packs of 12 ounces to a 12 of 10 ounces with no change in price. So that was a clever way of saying, you're now going to get 10 ounces for the same price that you used to get 12 ounces. And it went from about 30 cents an ounce.
You ready for another one? Here, you take this one.
So I'm about to say,
I'll get another one when they come back.
I'll take my chances somewhere else. You know, but can you imagine? I mean, literally, after one. Well, they didn't. You're getting more. No, they didn't say that because they knew that would be illegal. But they made it sound, you know, but they made it so that I had to do that. You know. So anyway, no, it did not go up with the market. It went down. It went up on the number. But they really, because the pack that I got before was 2 6-packs. So they went from 2 6-packs to a 12-pack, which is the same. And then they went from 12 ounces to 10. You take it for the same price. 2 ounces per bottle, not per pack. I lost 2 ounces per pack, that would be not bad. Well. No, that's exactly right. Actually, that's the best way of looking at it. You're right. I'm losing a bottle.
So instead of sending the 1 fewer mile, it went through all this effort in order to, you know, that's a nice sure we. You know, so. And it's in like plastic,
Yeah.
you know. So just, this is exactly what Joe Biden was talking about, right? It is literally exactly what he was talking about.
Well, what's the implication?
I can answer your question. Give me 1 minute.
Yes. It's us, right? It's the chance
Do that, why you said it? Well, it's really good.
Yeah. The whole side. I'll do it in minutes. One objects by letting things.
Same thing.
No.
They didn't have names. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Lighten it up. I don't know. Even Diane. Even Diane is lighting it up. Okay.
You know, like.
But there you go.
So, I'm not gonna have life. But then, you have to wait. Or. That's what my first word is. I. I'm not even what job.
What?
Yeah.
I think that's actually.
No, it's not in the slide.
I think we need to have a conversation. Well, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying. Right? I do. Yes.
I never. You know, I've never. First time I looked at it. No, okay, so they like. Thought about it. And usually I don't. It does have to. Think about it, don't believe that they can't fill out the plan.
Oh. Yeah, 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 that's how it should be.
Maybe that's the stopping point. Maybe. Okay.
I don't like, I think I don't like every other thing. And it's Pennsylvania.
Oh, yeah,
Making Carolina.
right. I'll bet you that in Maryland, they do it. Right, 'cause so,
This one.
just like Robert Kennedy. States, that's really one. Off in some states, on in other states.
Well, here's the argument.
Hey. It's a question of how much, at what cost.
That was something. Even small kind of like.
That one was referred to the board.
Oh, you're being not that. Oh, you still know if it was a mistake rather than not.
Here's the key. A court, a lawyer. She told the Washington Post that many Republicans previously assumed that overseas voters were primarily affiliated with the military before learning the majority were. So they, in other words, what we thought they were for us, you know, we defended, like we were defending the flag. And so now that of course, military voters don't all vote the same. I will wait till after our referral.
Oh, okay.
And after Diane goes to church, to ask her what she thinks of it. Because otherwise, our referral session will never get started. But I do want to know what she thinks of it. I do, Diane, but it has to wait because it's about military and overseas ballots. It'll have to wait.
Oh,
It'll have to wait. I'm doing my best to separate Diane from her political party.
okay,
We'll see if I ever succeed. I'm guessing higher. No, Kevin, it seems working.
Oh,
Yeah, it's,
same exact same.
I know it's shocking, Diane. Maybe I've had, maybe you haven't figured this out. But almost a shocking. I haven't. But yes, I think you're gonna have to, I'm gonna send you an article and we can talk about it another time. I understand. We want to go home today, you know, and Diane has to go to church, so.
All right, hang on a second. I am actually not an executive, but I'm just getting from actually, just do me a favor, turn the sound, is the sound on that one on? The sound's on, we're okay. Leave it on. Leave it on while I get back on. Because I need to get back on. Put me on. Okay, can you turn off the sound on that one? Jerry, thank you. You got me back on quickly. I appreciate it. Okay, Kevin.
Okay, so the first ballot is from 0816. And it is whether it's a vote for the Honorable Ann Albright.
Yeah, pass it over here. Okay, is there a motion? Oh, this is what it looks like for those of you watching online. Okay, is there a motion?
So people counted, for the honorable and Albright.
So you're moving that it be counted as a vote? Yes. Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, Margie, Daniel, Diane, Tina, Alex, and I vote aye. It is unanimous.
Case from 0725. Presidential race, the oval filled in for Donald Trump, then there are X's for Oliver Stein, then there are X's throughout the rest of the ballot until you get to the appellate court of Maryland, where for Ann Albright, they've circled yes in the top header, but they've filled in the oval no. See if that's the least of our problems here.
Radio.
There you go.
I feel like I have to scan the whole thing in order to show it to people. Oh, man.
It's definitely the darkest on the page.
Yeah, but it's crossed out. And then we have a yes circled with a no filled in.
But that was a nice touch.
That was a nice touch. And then does X mean yes or does X mean no? And then we have circles on it.
That is crazy.
Yeah, this person
is not consistent in any way. So that is the vote for president. That is the vote for Senate. That is the vote for Congress. That is the vote for, which office is that? For judges. And then on the back, we have perfectly filled in circle for the appellate court, for the Board of Education, for the Board of Education.
Progressive learn.
Okay, I think I go this time first that way because I went first that way last time. Diane, you're gonna be late for church if we discuss this ballot.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't look at them before.
That's right. Why can you save that one for after?
No. I think that's the one that has to come first so that we can get your input. But I mean, we have a hard time because if X means yes, why the multiple X's for president? If X means no, what do we do with the circle that is X'd over for president?
Yeah.
And then we have, and then once again, like, you have a no filled in circle with, but a yes of the word circle. Now, we could argue that the following the directions takes priority over not following the directions.
Yeah, so I would go for the.
Go.
circle.
Right? I mean.
Yeah, Allison's here.
How about that? We know that person. How you doing?
Oh my God, hola.
Yeah,
You're dressed similarly.
I'm sorry.
Diana kind of dressed.
Hey, what?
You and Allison are kind of dressed similarly. We're wearing like a black leather.
Oh, did she? Only she doesn't look vintage 1970. But then I'm going for warm.
You may not have been born in 1970, you know? I'm sorry.
I didn't say I was alive. It's very.
I understand, but I'm saying that Allison probably was not alive in 1970. You know.
Still wear the rest one.
That's true. That's true.
But wisely, she's not. I, on the other hand.
Warm is a good idea. I may be the only person who's happy in this temperature. No, you cannot. If, you know, now I would say that she could have planned it that way, but how would she know that we were meeting at 4 o'clock, right?
Because normally it's at 5,
That's right.
so she might have been thinking.
Oh, well, that's interesting. I didn't see this one. That explains why she's here.
Oh, good. What is it?
I can only show you, I can't say it.
Oh, okay.
The last text. That's why.
For the county now?
Towards the state.
Oh.
Don't say anything. That's why.
In a contract with the state.
Oh, yeah, that's on top.
I think the oval colored in for Trump is on top of the.
Oh,
Oh, sure you do.
no, I think it is. No.
Okay, you will have to.
You may have a split of
So how do you interpret the other X's? Do you interpret the other X's as yeses or nos?
Yeah.
So, and so how do you interpret the fact that they have X's for 3 candidates for president?
They narrowed the initial list down to 3. And then.
And then what happened to, we follow the directions if we don't
if we don't have anything else to go by. Because if we do that for the judge, we should be doing that for president. We have the judge race where the voter circled yes, but filled in the circle for no. And all right, but if you disregard that, what do you do here? Because, you know, and what do you do here? I see,
That's not
I,
even a vote.
I see them as equivalent in this sense. That the instructions say to fill in a circle. If we're gonna say that the only way to vote is to fill in a circle, of course, we haven't said that. We've never said that. Right? We've said we have to interpret each one as kind of, is an X yes or is an X no? Okay, so if an X is yes here, if an X is yes here, if an X is yes here, why isn't an X yes here?
It is. It's
Okay,
just there were 3 yeses, and then they realized I can only pick one.
how do you know that?
What other possibility is there?
It's on top.
Well, I'm just saying that the voter has shown no consistency of any kind. Yeah. You know, so then the question is, how do we determine their intent?
So typically, they decided this to go basic precedents, that they came back and decided that they actually should have only voted for one. They made that clear with the extra mark. They didn't do that by others. Now,
No, are you saying that they did not realize that they had to make circles for these? But they did realize they had to make circles for this, this, and the back?
yes,
Ah.
And they didn't have to do circles here because there was nothing inconsistent with one mark. Up here, they had too many marks, so they had to highlight the one they wanted.
You guys seen it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
So
I clearly do not see any consistent pattern. Because the back,
It was voted perfectly.
I mean, there's no
I mean,
question about
when I
it.
say perfectly, it's not about who they voted for. The circles are filled in. Right.
So it's hard, even if the hypothesis is that they started in the front, right? But then come to the back.
See, my first reaction, I'm gonna look at it with the magnifying glass, but my first reaction is, if we count the X's as votes, then they voted 3 times for president. And I have a hard time getting to this circle is negating the other 2 X's because they've made no other effort to tell us not these. So if we're gonna say that those are yeses, I think those are my,
Yes, is because of the context in which there's no other marks except one X for one candidate.
all right, but you're saying that the 3 X's, you're not saying that those X's mean no. You're saying that those X's mean yes, and that the circle means I really mean this one, but the other X's are not no's and they're not yeses. So you're treating those like they're blank.
I think the circle up here,
Override the other.
that's what I think the circle negates.
I
the
think it's impossible to reach that conclusion. I think that this person, I think you have to decide whether we accept the X's first of all. And then if we do, I personally don't think that we can say that, you know, I think that a circle with an X is really hard to make that case.
So what do you think the oval, the filled in oval, the president, what does that mean to you?
And top.
Well, you say it's on top. How do you prove it's on top?
Yeah.
Can you tell? I mean, I guess it's on top in the sense that you don't see the portions of the X.
Here, use the light.
Yeah, the light helps. Thank you.
The light will show you.
So David, if I can just.
Yeah, please.
This one's hard to demonstrate.
Please.
How to use it, but this is the 4X. So you put it right over there.
So you use this one?
Yeah,
Okay.
that shows you more clearly the difference between what is on top of what.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
See what I mean?
I see what you're saying.
So they're down the line. Okay.
So what do we make of the voters' lack of effort to undo the other ones. In other words, they make a mark over one of them,
There's no,
but they've done nothing to the others.
there's no other overvote that needed to be corrected. That's why I see the.
Right.
The circle was added.
Okay, but how do we count those other X's and ignore those? Okay, I see what you're saying. I'm even willing to stipulate that I think that the circle is above the X based on what Alex just showed. Okay? How we still have instructions that say nothing about X's, as we know. We still have two more X's.
Yeah, but this is an attempt to override and overvote.
How do you know that?
We don't. This is
Okay.
why we're here.
Okay,
That's what I'm saying. It's my most logical interpretation of this.
Okay.
mishmash.
okay, but I would say that it's also possible that the voter thought they could vote for three people.
Well, I know, but that's
Yeah.
how we're gonna vote.
Yeah, okay.
But why not? Why do the, leave it with the three X's?
Why not write the word no here and here?
We've been told other situations where we wish they had would know what they did.
Agreed. Agreed. No, I got it.
At this point, we can-
No, I,
Well, I'm inclined to, because the X's are not the only ones that we have to consider. There's also,
the circle's on the back.
it's a circle, right?
Well, there's the circle is here.
Yeah.
So we have to decide whether, what do you all think about the circle? Yes.
I think it's irrelevant. It's in the instructions.
So we ignore the yes circle
Okay.
and the oval.
We ignore the yes circle. We consider anytime they fill a circle, we're considering that to be an override over anytime they don't follow the directions. But then I'm still bothered by the fact that we want to count X's here, not count X's here. That's the part that bothers me. Even if you accept that is an attempted override,
Yeah, so I would say,
do we not count the votes, the other X's?
well, that's the thing. Like, if we're going by filling out the oval, then we cannot count
So,
the
so,
circle
so,
or the X.
so no vote for Senate, no vote for House, and no vote for judges.
That's if we make a decision.
That the filled-in circle takes priority.
Well, the feeling over, because it's a circle.
Oh, I'm sorry, the filled-in oval, yes.
Let me just read this. So if we make a decision, then that the feeling over is a vote, then we cannot also make a decision that the X is a vote or the circle on the instruction is a vote.
Think
Yeah,
about
I
it
don't-
this way.
I-
You're trying to fit this into a systematic pattern, a rule that would govern the entire ballot. But because of the inconsistency in the way this vote is filled out, you can't do that. You have to judge each race on its own facts and context.
That's the way
All
I'm
right,
coming at it.
well, but do we do that on every ballot? I would say we have plenty of ballots where we don't. There are plenty of ballots where we look at why do we look at the whole ballot? We look at the whole ballot to try and look for patterns. So I agree with you that one option is to throw up our hands and say there is no pattern. Okay, but there are these aspects of patterns here, and that's, and we have, we have to at least in our own minds try to make sense of what those aspects mean. Because in order to count everything on this ballot, you have to say, okay, these X's don't count, these X's do. This person was cognizant of the fact that they had screwed up without telling us they've made no effort to undo it, which a lot of our voters do. They've made no effort to undo it, but they have made an effort to say, I really want this. So are they trying to give us a rank preference, or are they trying to say they're not doing these? I'm just having a hard time saying that this is completely separate from this, for example, for Senate.
But if there was ever a case for a ballot to be treated that way, as uncomfortable as it is,
Yeah,
this is it.
okay, I would agree with you, Alex, that
So let's go race by race then.
And not every voter is going to be either, well, first of all, obviously not everybody pays attention to the instructions. But if that's the case, why are we giving priority for the instructions if this voter clearly doesn't follow? Because they follow them in some circumstances and not in others. It's almost as if two different people mark this
It
ballot,
does feel like,
or three, you know?
if I may, for the contest of appellate court at large, I think I'd say it as an override.
Really?
Yes. Because in the past, we have accepted that someone's.
Well, but we've only accepted it when the rest has been blank. We've never counted that as an overvote.
I don't see,
Never true, doesn't mean it can't go forward and or being considered.
Yeah, I wouldn't count it as an
I,
overvote.
to do that, you would have to put equal weight on marking a direction as you would on marking an entry.
But we have,
And
we've
I
selected
never
a
asked.
selected a yes in the circle as a vote in the past.
So,
We've
Yeah.
said yes, in the past, we have.
when
selected
when
yes.
these have been blank, we have never, I don't remember ever, Kevin, tell me if you remember ever, I don't remember ever suggesting that that was a vote when that's filled in.
Okay.
So then, do
I
we
don't-
consider the entire ballot, or are we taking each
Taking
race?
just that contest.
Let's start.
All right. Well, let's attempt to go race by race.
I
And let's with the understanding that,
We have,
with the understanding, this is where my problem with not finding patterns is gonna come in. With the understanding that it's still possible that our discussion about race number 2 may cause us to reevaluate our discussion about race number 1. So not race number 2 specifically,
Sure,
but you
sure,
know what I'm saying. Okay. So let's start with president.
Well,
Okay.
Could I suggest a pre-motion?
yeah, I gotta go, so we should start.
One
at
for
least
the
one.
field and ovals other than president, one for the X's other than president.
And then president?
Because that,
Okay.
I'm sure we would agree, right?
Okay,
Field and
okay.
ovals with nothing
Oh,
else.
oh, all right. So leaving aside the question of Judge Albrecht,
Mhm.
are we all this we can do by unanimous consent. Are we all comfortable that the filled in ovals where other than Judge Albright and president, we're gonna leave out as well? Are we all comfortable that those are votes?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's nothing on the back of the ballot. Now, let's talk about Judge Albright. Okay, Judge Albright has vote yes, yes circled, oval next to no. I think it's a no vote.
agree.
I'll go with it, I agree, I'll go with another. So we are left with only one.
Okay, do you want to, do we need a motion, Kevin, or do you, or you,
Why don't you go ahead and do a motion?
okay, does someone want to make a motion?
But
Yeah.
for what we just agreed on, or just start over?
For what we, for Judge Albright?
Mr. President, I move that we for the
Counted as a no vote for Judge Albright.
yes, count as a no vote for Judge Albright.
Is there a second?
Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, Margie. Daniel.
Aye.
Diane. Tina. Alex. And I vote aye. Okay, now. Let's get to the X's for
Other than
for judge of the circuit court, for representative in Congress, and for US Senator. Okay? So the question is, are those votes?
That we accept as votes, the X's for Angela Alsobrook, for Riley, Ayers, Fairfax, Leibowitz, and McCullough
That's all, that's all.
on this page.
Okay. Is there a second? Any discussion? Okay, Diane.
Aye.
Tina. Alex. Margie. Daniel. I vote aye. Okay, now, president. The hardest one, if you ask me. But essentially, it seems to me that our choices are it is either given that we've said that X's can be votes,
Yeah.
it is either an overvote or it's a vote for Trump? Okay, floor is open for any motions.
Make a motion that this be accepted as a vote for Donald Trump. President, as we already.
Is there a second? Okay, any discussion? Okay. Diane, Gina, Alex, Margie, Daniel,
No,
I will vote no. So it passes 3-2. 3-2?
no, four.
4-2. 4-2.
Margie voted on.
Margie voted aye. Yes. Yes, that's it for this ballot. Okay,
All right, okay.
something new every election. You know, that was a tough one.
We'll get something a little easier.
It's more like that, we'll be here.
Yeah.
I mean,
People say to
at least
me,
we've sent somebody to church, right? So.
I am anticipating that we're gonna, I am anticipating that we're gonna get grief for having started at 4 o'clock, just so you know. From the person who's coming to visit. So.
okay, the issue is the US Senate.
Okay, US Senate race. Well, this is a garden variety compared to compared to the last one. I'll bring it back.
Yo, because I'm just smiling, I haven't seen it yet.
I understand. I mean, none of them are completely easy, but it's garden variety compared to.
Margie's smiling.
I feel like I should be buying Alex some food or something to prevent him from leaving. Because if he leaves, we lose our quorum. So, okay, is there a motion on this ballot?
Mr. President,
Daniel,
Powell, I'm gonna move that we accept for the US Senate race to be a vote for Angela also.
is there a second? Any discussion? Okay, Margie, Daniel,
Aye.
Alex, Tina, I vote aye.
So.
Okay, thank you.
Issue with the US Senate. It's not.
More X's and circles, baby.
Representative in Congress. Circuit Court. Appellate Court judges. Board of Education District 2. Board of Education District 4. Question 1. Question L. Have fun.
All right. Kevin is making us earn our paycheck today, right?
All right.
Some of them are easy. Some of them are easy.
Okay, I think there's a logic to this one. Yeah, I don't, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not bothered by this one.
Well, what do you think about,
I'm not bothered by,
Yeah, like,
what do you think about this one?
I think that one, I think that one's intended as a no vote. That's what I think. I would say that's for Harris, that's for Alsobrooks, that's for Raskin, that's for the 4 of them, that's for yes, that's for yes. That's for yes, that's for Montoya, that's for no one, that's for Evans. That's 4, and that's 4. That's what I would say.
There's no voting going on.
That one at least had a logic to it because they seem to want to cross out the things they didn't do. As cumbersome as that is.
Except for, Board of Ed District 2.
In which case they crossed them both out.
So the no vote,
It's a no vote, is the way I would look at it.
undervote.
An undervote, yeah.
Overvote.
Well, whichever.
Yeah.
I don't think it's an overvote. I think it was an attempt not to vote for either one.
That's true.
I agree, it's very weird.
What a pattern.
I don't think it's weird because to me, it's a couple of those comments, they think they loved everything, we came back with them.
Yeah.
They didn't do that.
Right? Okay. I'll make the motion on this one since I pretty much already started. I'm moving that we count all the X's as no's and all the filled in ovals as votes. And the Board of Ed for board, I'm getting there. Board of Ed District 2, I would count as an attempt not to vote for either candidate. So that would be no vote there. And then all and I can read them if people want, but I mean, that's, that's the theory. It's the filled in ovals without the X's. Those are the ones they're actually trying to vote for. The X's are what they're trying not to vote for. And for Board of Ed District 2, they're Xing through both names. And if they weren't Xing, if the X's didn't mean no, they circled both names, in which case there would be an overvote, but the result is the same. Okay, is there a second? Okay, any discussion? Margie, Daniel, Tino, Alex. Okay, and I vote aye. Did you catch all that? Okay, cool. Hello, Senator. We're in the midst of a meeting, so I will get up and say hi when we're done.
Yeah, how you doing?
Okay. Okay. You've missed some really fun ballots, Cheryl.
Okay.
You missed some, you've missed some really classic ones. We have voters who,
No way.
no, nothing like that. We've had voters who on the same ballot have had filled in ovals, X's instead of ovals,
Okay.
X's for more than one candidate, but one with an oval filled in over it. And one judgeship where they filled in the oval next to no, but circled the word yes in the instructions. Well, we went through them bit by bit, and we eventually concluded that the person who circled yes in the instructions but filled in the no voted no. We concluded that the X's were in fact votes for all the races where they didn't X more than the requisite number. And for the one that was for president, where they had 3 X's, but one that had a circle over it, we had a divided vote, but by 4-2, the vote was to count the circle over it. And it was not divided along party lines, but it was, and none of us, I think, are like totally certain. I think it's more, yes, exactly.
It's in 1342. And it's question A.
Okay, question, okay. So this is question A.
How you doing? Good to see you.
Down here? Okay. Alex, question A.
Question A. Focus on the ratio. We're gonna vote again.
Yep. So here is question A for you guys. Over here. Is there a motion? Kina,
We accept for question A, a vote against.
is there a second? Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, Kina? Alex? Margie? Daniel? I vote aye. It is a vote against. And I do think it's an attempted erasure. I think that's exactly what that is. I wish we had a good instruction for people as to how to tell us that they don't mean something.
Those things, as soon as you get slightly more detail in the ballot, it comes into like more interpretation.
If you mess it up this badly at home, come vote for the.
Yeah,
Like bring it yourself to our.
yeah, but we don't really want to tell people to come vote provision.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get another ballot. You know, get another ballot. It's not too late. Get another ballot.
So this is 7:25, and the question is there a vote for president?
Oh. That is a good question.
Yeah, a vote for president.
I think I know what my position is, but I want to hear what everybody else has to say. I can only come up with two possible interpretations and neither one is, well, I don't want to bias the jury. I want the jury to get the evidence first, then we'll have our conversation.
Kind of esteemed job, cathartic now.
Say again?
How can you be kind of a state of contradiction?
Well, I have two different theories on this vote. Although I think I have one overwhelming the other, but neither one makes it a vote for that person. I think it's either an attempt to cross them all out, or it's an attempt to vote for the vice presidential candidate for president.
Oh. I was gonna say, don't give Alex a heart attack over there.
But if it is,
Nice try.
yeah. But I'm not trying to give him a heart attack. We need him for a quorum.
Exactly.
No, the question is, are they trying to cross him out or are they trying to underline him?
Or just 3 lines.
Right, because they clearly crossed out Trump. This is the ballot we are looking at.
Or they just meant to cross out the big numbers.
Right, did they mean to cross out the whole box and they didn't do it very well because they did not cross out JD Vance, they kind of underlined JD Vance. But either way, they crossed out their circle, so I think it's more than likely it's not a vote. I would say that it is a lack of a vote for president. But
Well, it could have been a vote prior to the
this
ratification
is
of the 12th Amendment.
what the ballot looks like. You can't touch the ballot. I don't think it's a vote for president, but if it were, I think it would be a vote for JD Vance for president. And I don't think, but I think it's more likely that the person just scribbled.
Yeah. And using Alex's theory,
Which is that,
the X is on top of the O.
yeah. Well, they drew a line through his name, so
But that's
if the oval was over the X, I would still argue,
fine, but-
yes,
Intellectually consistent and nothing else.
yeah. Okay. Is there a motion?
Yes, Mr. President.
Daniel,
So I move that for the race of president, that this be annulled.
okay, is there a second? Any discussion? Daniel,
Oh,
Oh,
David, just a
yeah.
no vote, meaning no vote for any candidate?
That's
Correct. No vote for any candidate. It's right, because we do not have a yes, no vote for president, although maybe that's coming someday. Senator Kagan is here, so she could introduce that legislation. Can we have a none of the above in the general election? Thank you. I don't want that either. Okay. Okay, Daniel,
Aye.
Margie, Alex, Tina, and I vote aye. No, I think a none of the above in the general election would be the worst of all worlds.
Okay, so, let's see here. 2185. 49. We're gonna take a stroll through 0430.
Okay.
A neighborhood that David knows very well.
Which one is 0430?
Ring House.
Oh, it is.
That's where we had the problem with relocating it.
Oh, now I remember. Okay. Well, just make sure you let us know if Senator Kagan's ballot is in here, because
David.
because okay. Smart. No, that's smart. Okay.
The issue is there a vote in the president's race?
No, we'll go this way. We'll go this way. I went that way last time.
The question
Is there a vote for president? Yes.
The question is if there's a vote for president.
That would be an example where I kind of wish I could see the envelope, because I almost could have rubbed off. You know,
Especially if they started with that,
right,
it could rub off from the envelope when you turn it over.
yeah,
That's my theory.
yeah, well, whatever. Mr. Vincent is very methodical,
He is.
very methodical.
I was looking for the smudge point, but I don't know if I could see it. Because of the way we fold it. So sometimes when we fold it, mother can go up, they didn't want any more. It's kind of strange that one, so.
Of course, the absence of a smudge would have been good to find, but it's not dispositive necessarily.
We have to say keyword.
It's just a law word, you know, but you're right. Well, if I helped the Scrabble champion, I am happy to to do my part. Although I will say that the idea that I could be helpful to the Scrabble champion in Scrabble is really not, I don't believe that. Okay, has everyone seen it? Is there a motion?
President,
Daniel,
see no other significant indication of a no vote for the office of president. I move that we accept this as a vote for Kamala Harris.
is there a second? I'll second it. Any discussion? I'll just Okay, well, you wanna go first? You wanna go second? Okay, I'll go first. We have counted partial marks many times. Not just this year, but every year. There is no effort to vote any of the other, any of the other markings. There is an effort to vote here. There's no obvious erasure marks. So to me,
You think it's more of a partial mark than an erasure?
yes, I think it's a partial mark rather than the erasure. I'd love to see the envelope, obviously we can't because that would tell us who the voter is. But to me, a marking like that is an evidence of voter intent. There's also no effort on the part of the voter to say no. There's no effort on the part, on the part of would I have preferred that the voter had made their mark as dark as all the other marks? Sure, then it wouldn't be in front of us, but.
Does it reflect comparative voter enthusiasm for the other races?
Well, it could, but we were just talking about the whole none of the above thing. This may be in the category of, yeah, I guess so. As opposed to, I'm really excited. I mean, there are people for both candidates who are in the, I guess so, in the very excited category. Some are very excited, some are not, right? So probably the same thing for the Senate race, for every race, right? Except for state Senate and District 17. Those voters are always very enthusiastic. But
So I guess for Mr. Corolla's motion, I could vote, I guess so.
yeah.
Well, he does not create a new norm. The point is that if there's a mark,
We have accepted X's that
Yes.
were not clear.
that is,
We have accepted check marks that were not clear.
yes,
This is a circle
Yes.
that is not as clear as the others, but it's clearly marked for one person in one place.
you just said it excellently for you. Please don't add anything else to it.
I'll be quiet. I know you're worried. You're worried that in the process of teasing our visitors, that or whatever, that I might blow it for us. I understand. I'm just trying to make it more interesting.
No, and there's
You know.
other marks for the other candidates, right? So,
I mean, while there isn't any other marks like this, it's not a mark that I feel confident for a competitive person. We've seen a ratio for all the members as well.
Oh, that doesn't,
We've seen a ratio that looks like this.
No. that's not an erasure. You'd have an indication of an erasure.
We've had a ratio look like that.
Okay. Well,
That is my reason.
what do you think? So I don't think we've.
I think that is.
Voter intent's not clearly there.
That is correct.
So
So
just
you
to be
th-
clear,
so-
can I ask Kevin a question?
well,
Go ahead.
before you do it, and I'm sorry, I'm violating the
Sure.
keep your mouth shut rule.
No, you're good.
So you voted in favor of the ballot with the 3 X's with the circle over the Donald Trump. And you considered that to be clear intent? Oh, not a chance. Voted cast 3 X's and voted in 3 other races with only X. You think this is less clear than that?
I have a question
Okay,
for.
I disagree completely. This is a marking for one candidate and one candidate only.
I have a question for our voting team. Has this board ever established a rule of what amount of percentage of marking?
I can answer that question. No,
Well, no, I mean.
we have accepted
You have to look and
pinpoints.
see whether you can ask. voters.
We have accepted pinpoints in the county executive races that were decided by less than 100 votes. And not for one candidate or the other, for both candidates. We have accepted pinpoints as votes.
So,
Okay,
on the grounds of that, I would know again.
you've already
That's-
moved.
No,
You've
I
already,
stay with
yeah.
my position in terms of us accepting it because clearly that's bigger than a pinpoint. And there's no other indication of a vote for any other candidate on that race.
I think we should be careful not to disparage. Any,
Oh,
opinion of not-
no. I'm trying to just get clarification from our board attorney and then make my point to convince my
It
colleague.
really depends on how the balance is completed.
We,
I'm gonna persuade my colleague.
It's clearly a mark, and the mark's clearly different than the other marks. They
Right.
all have to decide whether.
but we just had a ballot where we said that the fact that the marks were different didn't matter. Because we had all kinds of different marks. We had a circle of an instruction. We had regular,
Can you go back
votes,
to Tina
we
just in
had-
case
we
she
had,
wants to consider
we
my-
had, we,
It's not enough.
it is analogous in this sense, Alex. It's analogous in the sense that we do not require picture perfect across the ballot, nor do we require consistency. We just voted to accept a ballot where someone literally, their X for Senate counted as a vote for Angela Alsobrooks. And their X's for two candidates in addition to Donald Trump were not considered to be votes because they put a circle on Donald Trump.
Litigating something that was already decided.
No, I am, because I'm saying that if you vote for that, how can you say that when you have a lighter mark? We have lighter marks all the time. We don't have, it's not like they have a darker mark for another candidate. We've done that over and over again for more than a decade. We have counted ballots where someone has a marking on a ballot that doesn't match the rest of the markings. If it matches the rest of the markings, it doesn't come to us. So to me, this is way clearer than that, because on that, we decided that we were going to take markings in different parts of the ballot and consider them differently. Well, that's what we're doing here. Okay. We have a dark marking here. We have a light marking here. To say that this isn't dark enough is basically to say that it has to be like the others. Well, in the other ballot, we did not say it has to be like the others.
That doesn't necessarily follow.
Also, for me, I don't say a connection, I'm saying it is a market. I'm not sure that that's a.
So I'd like to hear my colleagues, so what is? On again, the race for president. Do you consider any marking on this race?
For the race of president.
President alone, do you consider any marking as an indication for vote on this race?
Not the vote of president.
Not for so the fact that all of these are clear, and then this one has, I mean, what would you call this one? Again, I respect your view. I just want to get in terms of how would you consider I don't even know what to call it now if you don't consider it to be.
Yeah, in comparison to how I voted in the past, this does not seem like a marking. It seems like it might have been a smudging of some sort. That's why I do not feel strongly about this vote.
You just said in comparison to how you voted before. When we had the ballot that had the yes circled and the no filled in, you considered the yes circle to cause an overvote. You were the only person on the board who voted against it. So there, a marking that wasn't even in the circle, you consider to be relevant, but you don't consider a light marking in the circle to be relevant.
Exactly right.
I'm just trying to understand that, because to me, if you say that any marking counts, then any marking counts. And if you say,
I don't think I'm saying that.
well,
I think we all agree that at some point, some markers have counted and others haven't counted. I think that's what I'm
okay,
saying.
but you're saying that a circle of a yes in the instructions counts, but a light marking in the oval does not.
It's you can boil it down to the general rule.
Yeah.
Yes, but I am trying to find a rules, because we have to have consistency from ballot to ballot. Because
Where it is possible to do that, the analogs are logically, you can make that.
okay, and I'm saying that I consider it to be an analog, that if we say that that the type of mark doesn't matter, because it does, and the fact that the type of mark differs within the ballot doesn't matter, and we've said both of those things in that last ballot. And we've also said, so
Say it didn't matter for all time. We said, we made our judgments with respect to that ballot alone.
yes, but we can't make a judgment with respect to that ballot alone without it affecting our judgment on other ballots. Because if we have an election that goes to a lawsuit, we're going to have to explain all of our decisions on every ballot. And, you know, and if it turns out, let's say hypothetically, that we do not have a lawsuit over the vote for president, but we have a lawsuit over the vote for Congress or Senate. You know, and we have a similar situation to this. People are going to say, well, what do you guys consider a vote to be? And we're going to have to answer. And all of it, am I wrong, Kevin? All of it is evidence. Everything we consider to be a vote, everything we don't consider to be a vote.
If this was a smudge, would we consider it let's, I'm gonna put the scenario together. If someone has voted, however, the hand may smudge something else, and the smudge comes up here, we consider that evidence. We can't really figure that out, because obviously we're there to watch them, but would we consider a smudge?
A smudge?
I see this as a smudge. I don't say this as a marking, I see it as a smudge. That is my differential.
Okay, well, if you see it as a smudge, I know I would not consider a smudge to be a vote.
Like as if somebody had ink on their finger and they
That's
just touched it.
Yeah, but
So how did they get their smudge?
yeah,
Exactly
it
in the
cannot be that
circle and
perfectly
nowhere else on the page.
aligned.
Hey, guys,
All
let's
right.
keep our voices down.
Okay, so,
Be respectful of
let me,
each
let me
other.
take a stab at this again, since I have my motion, still standing. Given that, Kevin and then David and all the other members of the board who have been here longer than some of us had indicated that there's not a specific percentage of marking on any, right, that will determine it's a vote or a non-vote. I would, again, would like my colleagues to consider.
Good to see you.
To consider
Yeah.
not only that there is a marking, because clearly there's no marking on all the other, and none of the other candidates in that race. Again, I would not call that a smudge, I'll call it a marking, because there's not a percentage established of what makes it, what qualifies a marking to be a vote or non-vote. And from that standpoint, I would obviously get my colleagues to look at that. And then based on that, make a decision. If it's a marking, then obviously, it will be a vote. If it's a non-marking, then I don't know how we would consider that compares to the other ovals that are within that race.
I think it's very difficult for that to be a smudge within the circle and no other smudges on the entire ballot.
That is good.
I think that is, I mean, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but, I think that, if it were a smudge somewhere else and not in the circle, there'd be more of an argument. If there were a smudge anywhere else on the ballot, you know, there are no other smudges. If we thought that when we folded it over, that it somehow could be transferred from somewhere else, but it's not in that situation. If anything, what you've got is the issue that it's literally on the fold. And since it's on the fold, that could make it rub off on the envelope. It could make, I mean, there's all kinds of possibilities, but I have a hard time considering it's a heck of a lucky smudge if it's a smudge.
Why would a lawsuit be relevant to me?
To me, a lawsuit is relevant in that we have a desire to be consistent from ballot to ballot. And that if we have a lawsuit over any race or anything, and I don't know, I think the chance of a lawsuit for president in Maryland is pretty unlikely.
It's like whatever decision we make, we have made it. It's not like a lawsuit can change it.
Well,
Yes, it can.
the only way you can change it if the decision was arbitrary, capricious.
And the way
I
you,
think
and
reasonable minds could debate on that.
right, right, but part of deciding whether it's arbitrary and capricious would be, how do we decide whatever the court would consider to be similar? And my point is that what the court would consider to be similar is not necessarily limited to that race, and is, it depends on how deep someone wants to dive as to what our level of consistency is. That's why I'm looking for any kind of, consistency among our decisions as we can.
But if reasonable minds could differ, that means it's a matter of law. It could never be
Arbitrary, that's the question.
The reasonable, but the court would have to conclude, that's the question before the court. Can reasonable minds differ? And have we been arbitrary and capricious? If we had that exact marking in another race and we treated it differently, even though reasonable minds could differ on the marking here and the marking on another ballot in another race, if we counted it one way in ballot A and a different way in ballot B, that would be a good argument that we're being arbitrary and capricious. Okay, so all right, but the fact that reasonable minds could differ doesn't mean automatically that it's not arbitrary and capricious. We still have to be consistent to some extent. Now, what happened in court is that people would argue exactly what we just did. Is this ballot similar to that ballot? Does this have any relevance to that? And it would be for the, for the courts to decide. What I'm saying is that to me, if we are basically saying that there's lots of different ways to mark your ballot and that there's lots of different ways to, and yes, and we're going to look at each ballot and try and interpret what the voter was trying to do. There's no evidence that the voter tried to do anything other, they either tried to vote this vote or they didn't. They didn't try to vote for any of the other circles in that, in that race. It's up, it is up to us to decide, but we can't just say each ballot is unto itself and has no relevance to other ballots. That is just not the case.
No one's made that argument.
No. I think he's just stating, I think like some of the things that we've always, but I don't know how do we?
We vote.
We vote.
We vote.
You vote.
We
Okay.
vote. Is everyone ready to vote? Is there any other debate? Okay, Daniel,
Aye.
Margie,
What's the question?
is this a vote for Kamala Harris?
That's the question.
Jay,
Alex? Tina? I vote aye.
Yeah,
So it's
okay.
3-1 to abstain?
Yeah.
Okay.
By the way, this was a very healthy debate, bipartisan as well.
shift to me. I don't understand.
Yeah, but somehow we didn't get March.
That's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay. Like every independent voice and.
Everyone has,
Opinion.
everyone has their own view. They're
That's it.
entitled to their own views.
Exactly.
How many more, Kevin?
Tray and a half.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
0707. The voters are having trouble figuring out the president's race.
It's a tough year. Alex, don't leave me dry. Come on. Laugh a little bit. There you go. Thank you. I got you too. Even a laugh. has to be-
I think if we had a way to measure through people's penmanship, their level of anxiety, the presidential race would have a high level of anxiety.
For real.
For different reasons for different people, but a high level of anxiety.
Definitely. Definitely. What was it? It was, I was visiting somewhere. And the conversation was really tense. I need to leave. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Is there a motion? Keenan,
The vote is for Donald and JD Vance.
okay, is there a second?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, any discussion? Tina, Alex, Margie, Daniel,
Aye.
I vote aye.
There's such a thing as a palate there, you know.
Stop it, finish.
A pallet.
What's he saying?
What did you say?
Yeah.
No, but after that.
Oh, no, that was my December 20th, something's been.
Yeah.
All right,
Where did he go?
you wanna mute and then unmute over there?
I thought he said we have a tray and a half left.
That's it.
Oh.
Was he kidding or was he joking or was he serious?
She's coming with it.
Oh, I see. She's getting a chair. Okay.
You could no longer tolerate this meeting.
This is great, that's great, that might not be business.
Yeah, he's just on the table in there. Don't expect me.
Exactly. I have to decide whether to put on my mask, sitting here so long. I think I'm okay. Is everybody feeling well? The question is whether you are. So,
As I mentioned, I'm holding no children's hands at this time, keeping
There
proper
you go.
distance.
okay, good, okay. I'll be sure to keep my distance from Daniel over here. Only because you're sitting so close,
Oh, okay.
because we're brothers.
All right.
I was just trying to imagine what my mother would say about that, and I'm not quite sure, so. When board members, of the Board of Education members used to mother me, she would tell me to tell them that I already have a mother. So, but they were the conservatives on the board. I think the liberals, he was okay.
The issues were Judge Albright's race.
Okay.
Peter, when we did those ballots this afternoon, someone's purse was here and still.
Yeah. Oh, great. It is still there. That's the same person too.
Do we know who sat there before?
I'll have someone.
Yeah.
else looking.
Right here? Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay,
I thought it was like that.
Yeah. yeah, leaving it would not be good. Yeah. Because then someone has to look at it, see whose it is. Yeah, that will not be me. Yeah, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. Okay, is there a motion?
Wanna show it?
I'm sorry?
You wanna show it on the screen?
Oh, on the screen. Yes. Here it is. No, that's not it. Hang on. It's where my fingers are. Okay. There it is on the screen. Okay, is there a motion?
Counted for, a yes vote for Judge Albright.
Is there a second?
Okay.
Any discussion? Okay, Margie. Daniel. Tina. Alex. I vote aye. It is unanimous.
Okay, this is in 09-07 Judge Albright.
Boy, people are having trouble with that race. Okay. It was your turn. Sorry about that. I think we've had the second most issues with that race compared to president. I'm not quite sure why.
Yes, no.
Yeah.
The shift from like voting traditionally to voting yes. No.
Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
I was gonna say, there's something about Judge Albright.
No, 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 no. I think it's something
So the
just
name-
that.
Yeah. Is that right? Wow.
I think it's the way the question is posed.
Like
Yeah,
that
there-
shift.
Well, I think a lot of people don't even realize that judges are on the
In
ballot,
fact, a lot of people don't even.
right?
Yeah,
So they
yeah.
get, they get surprised
They
by
do,
that.
they do get.
I asked my kid, he was 3 years old, look, do you want this one or that, one? Yes or no?
Healthy.
I'm sure, Alex, you did not mean to compare our voters to 3-year-olds.
On the charter commission.
But you know, sometimes any kind of ambivalence comes out of these things, it's unexplainable.
Yeah, okay. I think that's.
Okay, so this is the vote we're talking about here. All right, is there a motion?
The president,
Yes, Daniel.
I move on the question for Judge Albright, the. Accept this as a yes vote.
Is there a second?
Oh, hold on, guys. Is there gonna be a question on the motion about Judge Arthur?
No, Judge Arthur, I think it just goes through as an overvote.
Yeah,
So Daniel has moved that Judge Albright be counted as a yes vote. Is there a second?
So,
Any discussion? Okay, Daniel, Margie, Alex, Tina, I vote aye.
And next one is 09-07. It's in the circuit court for Montgomery County. I wouldn't even prefer that one.
Yeah, it's a blank write-in, right? Yeah, I don't think it even requires referral. It's a completely filled in blank write-in, but no one has been written in. So I would just say, yeah, yes, unanimous consent to de-refer it,
yeah.
recommit it. Or whatever the term is, to send it back.
Okay, this is from 1301. Got off to a good start. Question one.
I just didn't know if it should be the first one or not.
Yeah, I don't. Suddenly I'm yawning up a storm. I am not bored. I'm just tired. No, I think those might be initials. Yeah, well, some people have 4 initials.
That is.
How many names do you have?
three,
3?
Wait,
Just
wait,
3?
three by English standard?
actually, four.
Okay.
4. Okay.
Daniel, Amara, actually five.
See, that's what I was like, by English
Yeah,
standards or by other
Daniel,
standards?
Amara, Puna, Kimban, Puna.
So would you be capable of using all of them in your initials, or would you basically just write DK?
DK is what I do.
Yeah, yeah. But there are people who do all 4.
Yeah. So only 3 can fit on my driver's license, so that's why I would like this to.
Okay. I will say that this is yet another permutation I don't think I've seen before. You know,
Well, it looks like this person wants to not take a position either way.
yeah, well, that's certainly a possibility. Because they have filled in one circle, they have X'd out two circles, they have written no vote. Now, no vote can mean they're voting no, or it can mean that they're not voting. And then they have put some letters here that I assume are initials, but I don't know if anyone thinks that VAT, and I think it's a P. It looks like a P. It might be an F, but it looks like a P. Does that mean anything? Does VATP stand for anything?
Except if there's an envelope, we can match it too.
Right, but we can't match it to an envelope. Wait, or can we? Kevin is looking.
Yeah, Kevin is smart. Oh, that's for the record, man.
Yes. Oh. Kevin has been declared
Oh,
smart.
my goodness,
Kevin-
look at that. At that.
Okay. Kevin has been declared smart on the record many times over the years. But
Standing
yeah.
on today's.
I understand. And the cast of characters keeps changing, so it's important to keep saying it. Okay, so I think we've established that those are initials. Now the question is, do we think that that person is saying that they're voting no, or do we think that that person is saying that they're not voting? Because no vote could be either. I would say, though, that when you take it in comparison with a yes vote filled in and both of the circles X over, that I'm more inclined to think that it is a not voting as opposed to a voting no. But yeah,
President, I'll just go by what the voter said, no vote.
again, no vote can mean voting no, or can mean not voting.
The two X's and a no vote to me means they don't want to.
Right, that's what I was.
Which is exactly what you're
Yeah,
saying.
that's what I'm saying.
That's good.
I'm saying that to say no vote is not, to me, completely unambiguous, although it is,
Well, with the X's, it makes it to me. it makes
yes,
it more clear.
yes, okay,
Are you on one?
yes, oh yeah, no, I'm online. When we- Okay. So, is there a motion?
Mr. President,
Keno,
I move that for question one, this is a no vote.
please rephrase.
It's an undervote.
Let's rephrase again. Let's say that we're gonna consider this, nothing has been cast on question one.
Thank you. for the
Okay.
correction. Mr.
Okay.
President, I move that for question one, nothing has been cast.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, Keenan,
Aye.
Alex, Margie, Daniel,
Aye.
and I vote aye. A lack of a vote.
Now, if I may ask for my learning purposes, why that phrasing versus under or
To me, an undervote means you have four choices and you vote for three.
okay,
Okay. When you have two choices and you vote for zero, that's not a vote at all. It's not an undervote. It's not a vote at all. And an overvote is when you have two choices, you have to vote for one and you vote for both. That's an overvote. Or you have four choices and you vote for five.
that's
And a no vote, I don't think that that is wrong. I just don't think it's clear, because a no vote can mean a vote against, or a no vote can mean a lack of a vote.
Especially when you have
But you were,
questions.
especially on ballot questions,
Okay.
but you were saying a lack of a vote. I mean, we were all in agreement. I knew what you meant.
no,
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
want
yeah,
clarification.
yeah,
So now
yeah,
it's
yeah,
now it's
yeah.
better than you said.
Yeah.
So this is from 0703. Why don't you show it to everyone and then you can go ahead and manipulate Judge McCullough, that tear mark.
Okay. I'm worried about manipulating that. Okay.
Well, everyone should probably see it
Yeah,
first. and then-
yeah. Okay.
May I?
Yes, just carefully. we want it to still be manipulable for Margie and Daniel.
Unfortunate, but.
You know, we'll have to add this to the list when you're choosing how to vote. And you have a choice between a paper ballot and a ballot marking device. This does not have the ballot marking device.
It looked like it. It looks like the
You know?
left hand corner of that bubble is filled in.
Yeah.
Bad idea. That's the second one we've seen where it's the balance been.
Wait, Lauren.
We've gotten lucky because on the ballots that have been torn, we haven't had tremendous ambiguity
Yeah.
where it's been missing or where it's been connecting.
Yeah, that part.
There's only
And
one that was
and even that one was,
for the judge.
yeah, for the judge, yeah, I mean,
Couldn't
yeah,
tell. It was ripped.
you couldn't tell because it wasn't there, but it was not like it was partially there or, you know, or. Okay, is there a motion on this?
President,
Yes. Daniel,
I'll have to move on, the, judge, the circuit court. This is District 6.
yeah, Circuit Six.
Circuit six.
But we accept the vote be for Maybeth, Jennifer, Lewis, and Bradford.
So you're counting that it is a vote for Bradford?
Yeah, I see a mouthful.
Really? Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
I'd like to hear about that. I don't see it.
For me, that the pinpoint that we talked about, like what percentage of mark determines.
The chair may, is not recovered.
It's right there, dude.
Okay.
What percentage of mark determines a vote? If I see, I mean, not me, I'm just saying from my standpoint, if I see a mark. and
Okay.
I would, that's why,
Exhibit, okay. Because you're saying that that is a mark.
In my view, it looks like it.
Yeah, yeah. It's like a mark that was accidentally torn out.
Okay. Just convince me. Any other debate? Was a second I forgot.
yes, by Kina.
Okay. Daniel,
Aye.
Margie, Alex, Tina, I vote aye.
Vote for all four judges.
I take back what I say about the lack of ambiguity, because that one. I
Yeah. Those ballots, yeah.
what you were saying is consistent with my longstanding philosophy.
Exactly.
So, you know, which is if there's a partial mark, it's a mark, you know.
That was what someone.
No.
I didn't have like something in mind, you know.
Yeah.
It doesn't mark that cover.
There you go.
Yeah.
Just so you know, they're gonna be talking to both you and me about smudges for the rest of our lives.
Don't listen to
For the,
David.
for the rest of our lives.
Don't listen to David.
Keena, when you are governor of Maryland, we're gonna be talking about smudges.
I mean,
Yeah.
We're gonna go debate.
sure
Yeah.
there's gonna be a cake called smudge, right?
Oh.
13 Senate race.
Yeah.
Is this the one you're talking about, Keith?
An example of one, but I.
Wow. But let me say that if there is a close Senate race, this ballot will be seen again. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of what you were saying about ambivalence, wait till you see this one, Alex. They appear to have voted both for and against both candidates for US Senate. I'm not even sure whether the motion is an overvote
Well,
or
I'm
not,
not even
or a
sure,
non-vote.
like, which one comes first?
Yeah.
Or the, or the cancellation of the vote.
And none of them, like, I haven't taken out a protractor to
Yeah.
figure out, but it doesn't, they're not obviously, like, one of them is filled more than the other, darker than the other. You know, the X's are about the same.
Yeah,
It's like, it's almost like, well, I saw the positive ads and I like these people. And then I saw the negative ads and I don't like these people,
yeah.
you know, so. I think some of our voters need a lesson on the lesser of two evils.
Whether it be noble in the mind.
Yeah, you know, like if it's whoever you consider to be the lesser, and of course, different people reach different conclusions.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's been a very difficult election year.
Yeah.
it has. Okay. Does anyone have a motion on this ballot?
I don't know.
Alex,
President, I move of a good ballot for the race of the United States Senate and all of the overvote.
okay. Is there a second?
What's it gonna be?
Okay. My only discussion would be that I can't tell whether they have voted against both of them or for both of them, since the result is the same. I'm gonna vote with Alex's motion because it's before us. If he had moved that it counted as a vote for no one, I would have voted for that too. But I think it's clearly not, I think it's not clearly a vote for a specific individual.
That's good.
So that's my 2 cents. Any other discussion? Okay, Alex, Tina, Daniel, Margie, I will vote aye.
The funny thing is that the table, right, they actually favored the marking before another.
They thought that it was a marking for one candidate over another? I'm not sure I even want to know.
That's why I was saying.
I'm not even sure I want to know. Well, let me have, well, maybe I should want to know, but I guess the question is, on what basis did they reach that conclusion?
One of the X's. They differentiate one X differently than the other.
And did they consider the X's to be a yes or a no?
Yes.
So they think that a larger X,
You know,
oh man,
no.
I know, as I'm saying this right now, I'm like,
Yeah.
this
this is why,
There's a
is why we
saying,
have more referrals.
this is why they're board referrals.
There's a saying, when you-
Exactly.
when you're in a whole stop digging.
Yes.
No,
I did afterwards.
no, there's no hole, there's no hole.
You put, I think that we.
I think we made a rational decision.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
I
I'm,
agree with this.
yeah,
I'll-
yeah,
I'll agree
yeah,
with that.
yeah, and I don't think that there was any way. And especially not based on the X's. If someone had said that the circles were filled more for one than the other, I might go with that. I think the X's were an effort to say no,
Yeah, I think so too.
you know.
If it was only on one, definitely would have counted for.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so to me, that was a no. That was not a yes, but yeah. Well, we have a lot more experience in what voters do than anyone at any of these tables. You know, which is, which is not to say that we necessarily know better, but we have more experience.
That's because of our diversity, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
That's the reason why.
Well, yes, and there's a reason why we are diverse in more than one way, you know, in order to take all that into consideration.
This is in 1334 and it's on question 1.
Okay, which way did I go last time?
This one.
Okay. Question one. Okay, is there a motion? Margie,
I move that this ballot be counted for question one.
okay, is there a second?
One second.
Any discussion?
What's the motion again?
Counted as a vote for. A vote yes.
Four questions.
For question one. Okay, Margie, Daniel,
Aye.
Keena,
Aye.
Alex, I vote aye. It is unanimous. Now that voter did tell us,
Good.
you know, clearly. I don't know that we can give people instructions on how to correct their errors. You know,
Can't save the voters from themselves.
well, the thing is, if we gave them instructions, at least we'd have half a chance that they'd follow a protocol if they look at them. But I'm not sure, usually the instruction is get a new ballot. And I don't think the voters are going to be willing to wait for a new ballot if it's a mail-in ballot. I think that the urge for instant gratification is just too high. So, but then what do we want them to do? You know, we want them to write next to it the name of the person they're voting for, or the word for or against, or the word yes or no. I guess that's what we want them to do.
Yeah.
Because anything else, even arrows, even check marks, you know, all of that has,
Room for interpretation.
right. So what that voter did by writing the word for, yeah.
It's 9:35. And the question is with regard to the judges for the circuit court.
Putting Daniel's theory to the test here.
You've established it, so.
Okay. You think the voters don't remember whether they're voting for 4 or voting for 3? You think that's what's happening?
Necessarily.
The judge, the four judges.
Not necessarily. I mean, as you say, like, we are at best guessing
Yes,
what the intent of the voter is.
right,
That's at best.
right. But it seems to happen a lot with the last person in the list.
Yeah, and that's.
And
usually-
I don't think it's necessarily, maybe I'm now projecting, but I don't think the voters necessarily know the judges well enough for it to be that judge,
That's correct.
you know.
And again, it's also because it's sequence on the page, not necessarily,
Right.
you know.
Well, it is the first multi-candidate race on the page.
Now, if it says vote for 3, you change your view.
Maybe. Yeah,
It's from my view, yeah.
my view is that it's a vote for McCollum. And would my view change if it was a vote for 3? Probably.
Why the hesitation?
That's my question. Why a pen rest almost, we want to call it that, versus a very definitive circle on the person.
I've crossed that bridge a long time ago because we can't really know. And to me, they've marked it, it's in the circle. You know, a pen rest in the circle is a red.
And that's what prompted me to ask the question to both Kevin and then David.
Right.
Like, is there a percentage?
Right.
10%, 5%, 2%?
Considered a vote.
We have never established such a percentage.
establish a percentage, but we do know the machine's not gonna take anything less than a darkened circle, so. Isn't that almost, that's.
No.
less than 50?
No,
And less
no,
than 50.
no, because
No.
the goal here is not what will the machine say? The goal here is what did the voter intend to do? Because if the voter intended to vote, it's our job to make the machine count it as a vote, not to assume that if the machine won't count it, it doesn't count.
So if this goes in right now, this will not be counted.
Right.
But
That-
because.
That's why it's before us.
That's correct.
That's why, that's
But if it
why,
was cast in an early voting site, it wouldn't be counted.
yes, but if it was cast at an early voting site, it would be fed back to the voter and they would be given an opportunity to fill it in more, which this voter is not getting. So that's why we have to make the determination as to whether they meant to do that.
That is
Because, yeah, ideally, I mean, I suppose in an ideal world, the voter would cure this. And we'd send it back to them and we'd say, hey, you need to fill in your circles. But that would also mean that we'd know how they voted. So we can't, that's why it's up to us to figure out. But yeah, I've never been a fan of just see what the machine does. Because the machine, first of all, they're programmed by human beings. And secondly, it's our job to figure out what the voter was trying to do. And admittedly, as best as we can.
That may come back as a stray mark when it goes through the machine.
Right.
Yes,
All right. So I gather you have a motion.
I do, Mr. President. On the contest for judge of the circuit court, I move that we accept this as a vote for Mary Beth, Jennifer, Louis, and Beth.
Is there a second? I'll second it. Okay. Any further discussion?
So once, just to be clear, we are saying that there's a mark of any magnitude inside of the circle.
That's what I'm saying.
We're
Yeah.
considering
That's
it
what
to
you
be
just
a-
voted for
Yeah.
in the ballot before.
Yeah, I was gonna say the last ballot, the last ballot it was on the left side instead of on the bottom side. It's the same thing. That's why I say that we have to be, consistent.
But when there's no other marks, it's
Yeah.
not a hard and fast rule in every situation.
No, I agree. When there's no other marks and when there, and and in this case, we are giving them an opportunity to vote for 4 as opposed, on a vote for 4. So yes, it's not hard and fast in every situation, but it certainly is no, to me, there's no difference between this and the last ballot.
I see the last ballot was, it was marked full, and unfortunately, we didn't have the opportunity to see the full mark, whereas we are seeing a full picture of the vote. this time.
The last ballot, we do not know if it was marked full. We saw a small marking and we made an assumption that the rest of it was there. But we accepted it based on the small marking. So, I would have accepted it. Once you showed me that there was a marking, I would have accepted it. I'm not convinced that it was, that it was taken away by a tear. But that's my perspective anyway. Any further discussion? Okay, Daniel, Margie, Alex, Tina? Okay, I vote aye.
Well,
Margie, you think it has to be filled in more?
Yes, I mean, it's consistent with how I voted
Okay,
that one time.
so how much does it have to be filled in your view?
I feel like if you are trying to say that you are indicating yes for a vote, you have to fill it in at least to the extent that you filled in the other bubble.
So did you vote no on the last ballot before this one with the chair?
No, because it was torn.
Well, we couldn't prove that there was a mark there where it was torn.
It was a mark, we just couldn't see the full mark.
If you felt the paper, it was not clear that it was, that there was a mark where that there was paper that was torn off where there was a mark.
I think there was.
Yeah, I thought there was. I thought that was,
There was a tear where the mark was.
yeah.
There was a tear to the side of where the mark was, in my opinion, but.
Well, part of the chair is not covered.
Okay,
Yeah, well,
all right.
I think
Well, I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. I just wanted to get a sense. I don't remember there being this many tears in the past. Ever. Do you, Alex?
It's a machine.
Yeah, I'm just thinking.
We've had what? 3 today? Or 4?
About,
Yes, 3 or 4 but I don't remember ever. I mean, we had an entire election in the spring. We had, I guess, we had all of 2022. I don't remember ever having a terror issue in those elections. Do you, Kevin?
A tear issue?
Right. Like the 3 or 4 that we've
Not-
had today.
Not those. We've seen tears where it's gotten torn when people try to open it or it's gone through the.
Right, but we've never seen like we did here where it got kind of almost skimmed off the top.
Right.
So the worst thing, right? Not the whole way through. It's
Right.
lightly at the top. It doesn't tear the whole way through.
Right, but how does that happen? We're not exactly sure. It's probably because they're not being careful when they close the envelope and when you open the envelope. But but
So many don't.
right.
0412 Judge Albright.
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I think
This
this
is
just made my point. The
this is-
question.
This
the
is
question
this is making Alex's point that a small mark is in context. It's not necessarily always a mark.
That's true.
Because in this case, we have a full mark for yes and a small mark for no. But it does bring us back to Margie's point, yeah, it brings us back to Margie's point, you know, yeah.
This must be like, what the hell is he? Is the question, I keep saying this, I think, I'm thinking that the 10 people who lost cases before her, that's gotta be what it is. Okay, again, I'm not a lawyer, I'm a policy person, all I can say is, that question could be very confusing.
I am not familiar with Judge Albright, so I don't know whether there is something about Judge Albright that would be controversial.
You know her mother.
No.
Donovan.
Ah,
I-
well,
so I was not gonna go there.
perhaps that would be it. But but I haven't checked for whether the voters who are having trouble with Judge Albright are of a particular political persuasion.
I think it's just,
Yeah.
I think it's just that it's the very first race. of
Right.
Judges, and it changes the
Well, yeah,
question.
right.
change.
What we have is we have single vote, multiple vote,
Yes.
and then we're back to single vote, but yes, no, instead of, so it could be that they thought, oh, judges, there's more than one, and then they got to the next judge and they said, wait a second. So it could just literally be a mistake,
I think it's,
but anyway, okay, is there a motion?
yes, Mr. President.
Yes,
I
Tina,
move that for Judge Appellate Courts of Maryland at large, it be a yes for Ann Albright.
okay, is there a second? Okay, any discussion? Alex, Tina, Margie, Daniel, and I vote aye. I heard Madeline Albright speak once. She was at the University of Chicago during Parents Weekend. And she was a very impressive speaker. Very knowledgeable. This may win the award for our longest meeting ever, our longest referral meeting. Although next Saturday could give it a run for its money, since we're not going to have the early referral meeting next Saturday. Next Saturday, we are not doing the 1 o'clock. Both Kevin and I have to be, for different reasons, away at 1 o'clock. So we're going to do one referral meeting at 4 o'clock.
This is an 0506. I'm not sure why I got it.
Probably question 1, because the marking is not completely on top of the circle. I'll just pass it around. I think it's a vote for question one. But if you all agree, we can send it back. Nothing else is even close. This one is not particularly close, but it's about as. It's touching the circle, but it's not in the circle. I'm waiting to see what Alex thinks. Given his detail orientation.
Yeah, I mean, it would probably be similar to what the definition of the vote is in favor of meeting.
Right,
And I think it's a vote for that.
okay. Have you seen it? No? Okay.
Kind of got a,
Everyone thinks it's a vote for?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, this is in 0420, and the issue is whether to vote for Judge Fairfax.
We're back to whether this is a smudge. Sorry, Keenan.
They did
Part of African family, that's what we have.
Okay,
well, I mean, they're like,
well, you should know that Jewish families have the same reputation.
Okay, that's We'll have it now.
Yeah, yeah. I'm waiting to hear what you guys think.
I'm going to hear how Keenan's gonna convince me.
Yeah, cause Margie,
All right,
you know,
Say you vote for the other one, so it might be me.
yeah. I'm happy that it's not poor Judge McCullough who has gotten those tears, you know.
Have you shown
No,
it?
no, Alex and Keena need to see it. We have to figure out what we're doing here.
Questions about Fairfax?
Fairfax.
This is pencil. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Well, kudos to the team at the table who sent it to us before they filled it in. You know,
Clearly.
because they needed to.
I think so too.
I already know what I want.
So I've heard two people say it's an erasure. What do you think, Keenan?
I think it's very fair.
I'm willing to go with that. It is in pencil.
It is.
I can't tell,
Face
but
public this way. Okay.
Yeah, so
I don't have a strong opinion. I'm willing to go along.
make a motion.
Okay, Daniel.
Mr. President, I move and judge of the second court that this be a vote for Mary Beth, Lewis, and Bradford.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Margie, Daniel, Tina,
Aye.
Alex. I vote aye.
No, I didn't see any marking. This,
You didn't see any marking?
so that's,
Hey, to be fair, you can also smudge pencil.
Oh, I think it's actually pretty easy to smudge pencil. Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that word is already on the dictionary. If not, then I-
Smudge? Oh, definitely.
Is it there?
Oh, yeah. Smudge is an actual word. I'm gonna. A mark or blemish left on a surface, usually unintentionally, from touching something wet or
Yeah.
sticky.
What?
To make a mark on a surface that is wet, dirty, or sticky, or to make something messy.
You got it.
Once in a while.
So it cannot be a kick anymore.
But this is an 07, 09. I think it's in the presidential race. President race.
Hmm. I think I need Alex to use his light. President, there's an X and a circle. And the question is, which came first? The X or the circle?
That's the only question on the ballot.
Yep. And I'm really not certain. Because the X is kind of next to it, it's not really through it, makes it even harder, if you ask me.
Like the X is next to, also goes to heaven on the other.
I really, really hope that we don't have any recounts. Although we haven't, although we haven't had that many, like the more likely recount races are like the school board almost at this point. I mean, let's see what the polls show, but. Well, or District 6, that's the other one. Congressional District 6 could easily be that close. And then we'll have the lovely national media to contend with as well. And a lot of high-priced lawyers.
Well, now, David, we have. It could be almost like an. With Mr. Hogan, but
Oh, on the same ballot? Oh, I didn't see that.
well, that X is connected to the three nodes.
An X in a circle for Mr. Hogan. Well, so the person would have to have decided to vote yes, and then decided to vote no on both of them, which I guess is possible.
Depending on where the X is.
All right, I'll have to look at it again. Hi, how you doing? Yes, at the back table. Back in the corner. Getting ready to call.
You guys think it's, attempt to cancel out the vote for change? I haven't seen it yet. The pencil out. And an ink over.
Okay, but the ink is on top?
No,
The ink is,
Well-
the ink is,
yeah, I think the pencil is crossed out on top of it. Now, one side of the X is on the side. Yeah, there you go. So this is on the side.
so what you're saying, but you think that the ink is on top of the portion of the X that's over the circle?
There's, no, I don't think so, but I'm gonna look at it one more time.
Okay, because I mean, if the pencil's on top, I mean, you have to wonder why they used a pencil, but that's still, if it's on top, it's on top
You see a magnifying with the glass, with a,
with the light.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, super close.
Super close. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, to me, it looks like, I think the ink is over the X.
I think so too.
I think the ink is over the X. And then, when you look at the other one. Same for the other. Yeah, is that what you saw?
I saw that too.
Okay. You wanna see it? Yeah, I think it's a vote for both of them.
For what?
I think it's a vote for Trump and a vote for Hogan. Because the ink is on top.
Do you think the ink is on?
Yes. And Margie agrees that she thinks the ink is on top. Daniel is looking at me with a quizzical look.
I would go along with the votes.
Okay,
Because I didn't see anything convincing to say it's not a vote.
Yes, he's our board president who stumbled into the truth.
Margie stumbled into the truth. I didn't stumble into the truth. I found it with Margie.
Is there a motion?
Okay, Margie, motion.
I think that this ballot be counted as a vote for Donald Trump and we have a ballot. Well, and Larry Hogan.
Second, is there a second? I'll second. Okay, any discussion? Margie,
Aye.
Daniel,
Aye.
Tina,
Aye.
Alex. I vote aye.
Yeah.
That's it? Almost 2 hours, guys. Thank you.
How many more days do we have with each other?
Well, we have a break. We're back here next Saturday.
Oh, we're just getting started.
Yeah.
We'll go to November 30th.
Well, not necessarily. We'll go to November 30th if we have to. We're gonna hope that we don't have to. So,
Let me hit the men's one.
yeah, go for it. Is there a thermostat in this room? Is that a thermostat over there? I'm gonna go look.
Are you starting to get?
No, I just want to see because I don't want you to be cold.
I run very.
Yeah, but if we have the ability to control the temperature, we might as well know. If we don't, we might as well know that too. Because we're not trying to freeze everybody who works here. You know, so
I may mention, should someone ask a question about why we're looking into this, volunteers and the president have also mentioned that they feel colder. Yeah. And that volunteers mentioned they sat.
have we gotten complaints about the temperature before today? Okay.
had experienced
What?
one particular thing.
Oh, let me turn this off.